welcome to the Global Sports Channel Inside Sports Show. I'm your host Mark Philpott, and in today's show we're going to be talking about the disappearance of a Chinese tennis player. We're going to be talking about controversy in the men's world cricket world, and we're going to talk about cheating in Formula One. You're all on the show today. I'll be back in a minute with all of that. Welcome back. Great to have you with us on the show today. If you're a first timer with us, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification. You'll be told every time that we drop a video. On the show, I want to uncover things that are going on in the world of sport that we should all be talking about and finding solutions to problems. Yes, the world of sport has a lot of issues going on, and I'm all big about saving the welfare and well-being of athletes and coaches across the world. And I think sports federations and bodies need to do a lot more to support their athletes and their coaches. So we talk about all the things that are going on behind the scenes in world sport, things that you may not know about, things that you may know about and have an opinion on. And I'd love to hear from you about those things here on the show. So don't forget to drop your comments below. I read all of them, and I'll make sure I get back to you as well with my views on your comments. Okay, so let's kick off the show. And today we're going to be talking, first of all, about the disappearance of Peng Shuai. Yes, Chinese tennis player, women's tennis player, has seemed to have vanished in the last 72 hours. And that started quite an interesting, controversial position across the world of sport, and of course into politics as well. Now, if you don't know who Peng Shuai is, she's a 35-year-old female tennis player from China. She was one of those first groups of Chinese players that came out, like Li Na and herself came out onto the tour, and they really made a spotlight for Chinese tennis. And Li Na, as we know, was a very successful tennis player. Peng Shuai herself was in the top 20 in the women's WTA back in 2011. And she's also a very good doubles player and won many titles in the world of tennis. So Peng Shuai has gone missing in the last 48 to 72 hours allegedly, after making comments about being allegedly sexually abused by a very senior member of the Chinese Communist Party. And of course, all hell broke loose in China after this allegation came out. And since then, everybody around the world of sport has been very concerned about the whereabouts of Peng Shuai. Now, this has been a really interesting topic to follow and continues to be so, because there's a lot of different things at play here. And I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about that here on the show today. The first thing is, I want to give huge raps to the executive chairman of the WTA. His name is Steve Simon. And Steve has really stood up and taken a leadership position on this situation, and has put a lot of pressure on China to actually say to us and share with us where is Peng Shuai and what is going on about this situation. So there's of course two sides to every story, and the allegations that were made obviously should go through a natural process of finding out whether the perpetrator is guilty or not. However, as we all know, things tend to happen in a different way in China, and this is being dealt with in that particular way. So the world tennis community and now the world sports community has come out in force and started to put pressure and putting accountability on the Chinese political party to come forward and tell us exactly what is going on and where Peng Shuai is. There was a video dropped on Twitter this morning by the Chinese state media organization allegedly showing Peng Shuai at a lunch on Saturday afternoon in China. But if you watch the video yourself, you'll come up to your own conclusion, I'm sure, whether you think that is an authentic video. It's like one of those videos you watch and you've got to find the 10 different things that are wrong about this video. It reminds me of one of those things. It looks very uncomfortable from a whole lot of different reasons. So have a look at the video. It's online everywhere. Make your own conclusions. I'm not making a specific conclusion here. I'm just sharing my views and opinions about this particular story. So it's great to see Steve Simon from the WTA putting a lot of pressure on the Chinese community to come forward and come clean on this issue and what is actually going on. Particularly, and the most important thing is the safety and well-being of Peng Shuai and making sure that she's okay. A lot of the rest, the LTA in the UK, a lot of players have come out in support of this, and Steve Simon has actually even gone to the extent of saying, hey, look, we're prepared to pull all the WTA tournaments out of China next year if we don't get an answer and a conclusion to this situation. So I think that's a fantastic stance to take. I think one of the things that COVID-19 has showed us around the world, that we shouldn't be reliant to be bullied by anybody, by any government on any particular issue. Obviously, a lot of sports community has put a lot of focus on China over the last few years because of the financial returns that are available. But as we all know, money's not everything, and I take it on, and I say on this video today, that the sporting community around the world needs to constantly look at new markets and where they can expose their product and players too, rather than putting all their eggs in one basket. And a lot of organisations have been guilty of this. A lot of governments have been guilty of this, of putting all their eggs into the Chinese basket, thinking they're going to get rich quickly and have a wonderful financial trail. Well, that's not always the case. And as I'm a strong advocate and ambassador for the well-being of athletes and coaches across the world in all sports, we should be looking after athletes and coaches more and making sure that they are playing in countries that support the well-being and the welfare of their sporting careers. So it's going to be really interesting for us to all watch how this particular tale unfolds. The story is far from over. We're all hoping that Peng Shuai is safe and well. People right up to Novak Djokovic, the men's #1 ranked player in the world, has put his support behind it. And we've also seen another development in this particular story as well. Nicolas Mahut from France, a male tennis player, has come out and called the IOC out for their lack of involvement in this particular issue. No surprise there, I guess, with the Beijing Winter Olympics only a couple of months away. And the IOC seem to be one of the biggest organisations that disappear in the wake of controversy. Whenever there's anything that athletes and players need support on, the IOC tends to run for the hills. And that's been another situation in this particular case with their inadvertent silence on the matter. And we need to be calling out organisations, even like the International Olympic Committee, who are supposed to be there to support their athletes and their welfare and well-being across the world of sport. Now, Peng Shuai has represented her country 3 times at the Olympic Games, so she is an Olympic athlete, and therefore she should be rewarded with the support of the IOC. So what is the IOC up to? Why haven't they come out and spoken about this issue and demanded, like all the other sports bodies across the world are doing so now, that China releases information about the welfare of Peng Shuai? That's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the International Olympic Committee should be putting pressure on China to inadvertently tell everybody what's happening with Peng Shuai? Or do you think they should remain silent because the Beijing Olympics is just around the corner? Interested to hear your views on this. We all hope that Peng Shuai's safety is first and foremost, right? We want her to be well, and that we hear news in the coming days that she is in fact well and that she can communicate under her own free will to those in the governing body of the tennis circuit, the WTA in her instance. So we'll be following this story here on the Global Sports Channel. So I'd be interested to see your comments, and I can comment on those comments once I hear them from you about how you think this situation should be resolved. Now, the next topic on the show today is cricket. In particular, men's cricket around the world is once again in the basement of ethical behaviour, and we've seen in the last couple of weeks the incredible story of Azim Rafiq on the UK, a Pakistani cricket player who spent most of his life playing cricket in the UK, has come out with a ton of allegations against the UK cricket community, particularly the Yorkshire cricket community and the Yorkshire Cricket Club, talking about discrimination, racism and bullying on behalf of a lot of players, coaches and officials within the world of cricket over there. So this has been groundbreaking, and it's been fantastic to see that this has come out. Rafiq has been through a lot of emotional pain, and his family have had to deal with a lot. But what it's done, it's a watershed moment, I feel, in the world of sport, and in particular in the world of cricket. And we've seen a lot of other players come out now testifying that they too have been experienced a lot of discrimination and bullying in the world of cricket. So of course this is unacceptable. We have to get to the bottom of it. We have to hold those perpetrators responsible who have been doing this. And unfortunately it appears as though this is going to impact the English Senior A cricket team. There's been names mentioned, and there's a lot of people now trying to defend themselves and saying what was said and what wasn't said. So we're going to have to see how this one unfolds. You may know that the English cricket team, the men's English cricket team, is currently in Australia preparing for the Ashes series against Australia, which starts on December the 8th in Brisbane. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions asked to Joe Root and his team members about what's been going on and what's been said, in particular from Rafiq in the UK. And let's hope that this does come to the fore, because no matter what happens on the field of play, we have to take care of athletes and players off the field of play as much, if not more, than when they're on the field of play. Now, it just so happens that the English cricket team didn't want to come to Australia and have the scandal to their own. No, Australian men's cricket team have decided to jump on the bandwagon as well and have their own controversy. So just 24 hours ago, we saw the resignation of the Australian men's cricket team captain, Mr. Tim Paine. He stepped down after a sexting scandal was about to be brought to light. And funnily enough, the sexting scandal was investigated by the Australian Cricket Integrity Unit only 4 years ago. And Tim Paine was then cleared of any wrongdoings and was not held to reprimand at all. So he carried on his wonderful career. And of course, when the sandpaper gate erupted in Australian men's cricket in South Africa, Tim Paine was given the captaincy as the white knight in shining armour to come and save Australian cricket. And here we are, just a few years later, and Tim Paine leaves the international cricket captaincy scene of Australia in scandal. So what's going on in Australian cricket, and what are Cricket Australia actually doing? Well, surprise, surprise, in the last 24 hours they've come out to defend themselves and tried to sweep everything under the carpet by saying that the former board, Australian Cricket Board, were the ones that should be held responsible, and if the decision was held again today, as it is, that Tim Paine would not be in the position that he's in. So incredibly enough though, Tim Paine has survived to be still able to be selected as an Australian player in the upcoming Ashes series. Don't ask me why, but it seems as though when you do a misdemeanor in the Australian cricket team, you just get a slap on the wrist and all is forgotten pretty quickly. So Tim Paine is still eligible to be a player in the Australian team. He's just had to step aside as the captain of the Australian team. So there we go. We know that there's been all sorts of scandalous things going on in the Australian cricket team for years. It's been a culture of drinking, of hooliganism. There's been all sorts of innuendos about different players over the generations. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for the Australian cricket community, particularly the men's team, to tidy up their act and stop acting like kids and become adults and role models that they keep talking about and keep promoting in their press campaigns, that they're getting everything sorted out and they're all about ethical behaviour. Well, it's been a load of gobwash so far, and they're unable as a cricket community to walk the talk, and I for one are sick and tired of hearing them talking about what they're doing to fix things up. They need to hold people accountable. They need to get rid of the dead wood out of the organisation, and they need people to come in with actual values to turn that organisation around, and that includes the players in the team. It doesn't matter how many centuries you've got or how many wickets you've taken. If you're a bad apple, you should be called out and you should be held to the sword. That's my view. What's your thought? Do you think that we should be always giving second chances to these Australian cricket players who time and time again either smashing up hotel rooms or going on drinking debauches or making sexting allegations against people? What do you think? Do you think we should be putting up with this? Is enough enough? Or do you think this is just part of the Australian culture and we should accept it because boys will be boys and it's okay? Well, I for one think it's a load of rubbish and that these guys should grow up. And I just feel really sorry for the people they impact, their families, their wives, their girlfriends. They're always the ones that get the brunt of this. And it's because we have immature men who get this power-crazed ego because they're part of this Australian cricket organisation, and they just go off as though they're too big and mighty for their own selves. And I think it's just disgraceful. They're not setting themselves up as great role models for the young kids that are playing cricket, and it's just leading on to more and more trouble within the cricket community. So yeah, I've got some pretty strong views about it. I really like to know what your views about it, so why don't you drop your comments about the Australian men's cricket team and the way that this particular situation is being dealt with Tim Paine, even back to the sandpaper gate. What do you think about the way they dealt with that? Do you think Steve Smith should be given another chance to be captain of the Australian team after what he was involved in before in South Africa? Do you think that we should sweep all these things under the carpet and say it's time's gone by now, they should be given a second chance? I'm really interested to hear your views. Okay, let's talk Formula One, and boy, what a season it's been in Formula One this year. We've only got 3 races to go in the season, and if you haven't been watching Formula One, well, shame on you. It's been a fantastic season this year. Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes Petronas Formula One team up against Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team have been going neck to neck every race, and it's been not only exciting racing, but there's been lots of stuff going on off the track, and I want to talk about that today here on Inside Sport. Now, the race weekend this weekend is in Qatar. A lot of controversy around that, particularly focused on the human rights issue in Qatar. It's the first time the Formula One circus has gone to the Losail track to race. The race is going to be a night race, so again that brings its own challenges as well as we head to the pinnacle end of the season in the Formula One World Championships. Now, the interesting thing, the last race in Brazil, all of a sudden we saw Lewis Hamilton find some incredible performance out of his car, and we don't know exactly why this is happening. Yes, he had a new engine in his car, but there's a lot of other technical things that are going on off the track that one of the teams are alleging against the other. So we've got Red Bull fighting Mercedes off track as well when it comes to technical regulations, and I, for one, I just hope that the whole Formula One World Championships series this year is not determined by some kind of technical regulation penalty, because that would be just a real shame for these two drivers who are going head to head. But we did see in Brazil a marked performance increase from the Mercedes team. Just when it looked like Red Bull were getting the better of them, Lewis Hamilton had one of the most astonishing races that we've ever seen in Formula One, literally driving through the field from his start in 10th position on the grid. And already in Losail in Qatar this weekend, we've seen Lewis Hamilton once again outperform all of the rest of the cars by a significant amount in qualifying. He's over 400 tenths of a second ahead, so nearly half a second ahead of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. So there's something going on with that Mercedes car, there's no doubt about that, and if it has been all done legally, well, good luck to them. They've obviously worked very hard and turned this around very quickly. But we have seen a huge gap in performance between Red Bull and Mercedes in the last 2 races. So Max Verstappen has qualified in 2nd position for the race, and Valtteri Bottas, which is Lewis Hamilton's teammate, is in 3rd position on the grid. Now, unfortunately, Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen's teammate, is qualified down the grid, and it doesn't look like he's going to be a factor to help Max Verstappen out in the race like he was in Brazil. So that's a bit of bad news for the Red Bull fans. And all is going to unfold later on this evening in Qatar with the Formula One race. So what are your thoughts about the technical regulations around this? Do you think the stewards do enough to keep these leading teams under check? Do you think that there's going to be some controversy between now and the last race in Abu Dhabi? What do you think is going to unfold in this Formula One World Championship? Do you think we're going to see a clean fight to the end, both on the track and off the track, or do you think we're still going to see some massive controversy? I can't see how we're going to get to the end of the season without some kind of controversy, and I think tonight's race is going to be, again, another step in that whole situation. We've got regulation changes coming in Formula One for 2022 season. We're hoping that the cars are going to be a lot more competitive across the entire grid by allowing them to race closer together because of aerodynamic changes in the regulations. The FIA are putting a lot of focus on this and hoping that this is going to be the case. So hopefully next year we're going to see lots more than just 2 cars competing for the World Championships, or 2 drivers in particular, because we've got some great drivers on the grid at the moment, but all of their cars are not at the same performance level, and we're hoping to see a closer season next time in the world of Formula One. So there we go. If you're a Formula One fan, check out the Losul Qatar Grand Prix this evening from Qatar and see whether Lewis Hamilton can convert his pole position into another victory. I think it'll be his 102nd Grand Prix victory if he pulls it off tonight. And we'll see whether Max Verstappen, the leader in the Formula One World Championship at the moment, can get up and save his position on the grid tonight. So there we go. Formula One, controversy on and off the track, and still plenty to come between now and the end of the season after another 3 races. Okay, well, that's it for this episode of Inside Sport on the Global Sports Channel. If you've got something you want to talk about in the world of sports that's either controversial or things that you think we need to be talking about as a global sporting community, let me know about it in the comments. I'm quite happy to put up a video and talk about that if people have got a particular topic they want to talk about. I'm going to continue making videos about things that are going on in the world of sport that I think we need to be talking about, holding people accountable and responsible for things that are going on that are impacting the welfare and well-being of athletes and coaches and sports teams across the world, no matter whether they're elite or grassroots. We need to be talking about it and bringing it to the attention of the world's sports community right here on the Global Sports Channel. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Hit the little bell notification and I'll be back soon with another video to talk about. And also, if you're a sports fan and you want to get involved in our sports conference we have coming up, we're going to be staging the first ever Global Sports Evolution Conference in February 2022. And at the conference, we're going to have guest speakers from all over the world of sport talking about things that need to be fixed in the world of sport. We're going to be talking on topics like racism, discrimination, equality, bullying, how sports federations need to do more to impact and look after the well-being and welfare of athletes and coaches around the world. Also, we're going to be covering things like new sports technology that comes out only for recreational athletes as well as for elite athletes. So if you're interested in any of that within the sports industry, we're going to be holding this conference in February 2022. Look for the details of that in the show notes today. And it's a free conference. You can join us online no matter where you are in the world. We're going to be working at your time zone as well. So you're going to be able to see that content live no matter where you are in the world. Thanks for joining me today. Hope to see you again here on the Global Sports Channel. Stay safe, stay well, and stay fit. See you.